Hello fans and assorted stalkers, and welcome back to GTA 5. Today we're gonna be doing something a bit differently. I'm not actually going to be commenting on the gameplay, I'm actually going to be talking about something while the gameplay actually entertains you. Okay, before we start, I just want to address one thing. This is a controversial game with controversial topics. I'm going to discuss an aspect of it that I imagine people will have differing opinions on. Quite frankly, the internet has a bit of a problem with differing opinions. Basically, if you have an opinion outside the norm, or any form of unpopular opinion, you'll at best be called a faggot. At worst, you'll get doxxed and have to leave your home for your own safety. I don't ask that you agree with me. In fact, I expect some points here that there'll definitely be people who disagree with me on. Although all I ask is that your disagreement be respectful, not only towards me, but towards those in the comment section. Quite frankly, it's a shithole down there. I have seen some good conversations, but they're drowned out by pretentiousness and downright douchebaggery. So be open to other opinions and have a healthy debate. I mean, we didn't come this long as humans without some healthy debate. And quite simply, this shutdown of conversation actually harms the discussion of GTA as a positive as well, because there gets this, safe, sterilized image of what the game is and what the game is good, and that's not how that's truth is shallow and, well, very impersonal, and the experience of media is a very personal thing, and different people will have different interpretations. We're not a fucking hive mind. And this problem of opposing opinions isn't just something in the YouTube comment section, it transcends that. It exists in the entire internet sphere. It's not a problem of Tumblr and Reddit, it's a problem both Tumblr and Reddit has. It's a problem that Facebook has, and good lord is it a problem YouTube has. That's pretty much all I have to say on that matter. Just don't be douchebags, which is kind of the general rule of life. Anyway, let's actually get back to why we're on Terrific Tuesday, the story. If it's here, that means, hey, I like it. My favorite part about it is pretty much the character interactions and the characterization. Like, the three main heroes, Franklin, Trevor, and Michael, are deep, fleshed out characters, but in a unique way that, GTA's method of characterization is rather unique. They essentially take an existing stereotype and then flesh it out as a character. Like, Franklin is your stereotypical, hood gangsta. You know, the one you imagine when, you know that image you get when you listen to a lot of shitty mainstream rap? Michael is the stereotypical dad. He's like Clay Pumpington, if you will, displeased with life, with an annoying and vain daughter, with a douchey, annoying, and entitled son, and a nagging wife. And Trevor is just the stereotypical crazy person. What they do with each of those stereotypes is flesh them out, make them more than just their stereotypes. Like, for example, Franklin, who's, well, this typical ghetto hood boy, but, the thing about Franklin is he's, for lack of a better word, whipped. He has no agency in his life, he has no direction, he just goes along with the flow. He's only got whipped into this life of crime because, well, Michael told him to. Sure, he enjoys the perks with it, a bunch of money and a fancy house, but that's not the main reason he got into it. The main reason was the mentor, the main reason was, well, someone told him to do it. Like with Lamar as well, who ropes him into a bunch of gangbang shit, despite his constant complaints. As much as he complains, he's still rather willing to get roped into Lamar's disputes. He can just go, fuck it, I ain't in your gangbang shit no more, but no, he just keeps going, and then just complains a lot about it. Okay, next, Michael. He's drawn to crime due to the allure of the money. The crime world was essentially an addiction to him, while having to pay off a Mexican drug lord just ended up being his relapse. And that's what got him back to life of crime. As much as he complains about having been pulled into the seedy underworld and how he's past all that, now he's a family now, he was a bit too eager to go back into the heist scene. He does genuinely care for his family and has remorse for his actions, more so than Trevor or even Franklin, but he's still an amoral murderer and jackass who has no problem killing and maiming to get his way. Next is Trevor. He's a deconstruction of the typical GTA protagonist. Basically, he's the answer to what kind of guy would do the things you do in GTA. He's the type of guy who would go on a train and snipe a bunch of helicopters or hit him with a Gatling gun. He's the type who would steal an ambulance and just ram it through traffic. He's the one who would put a bunch of sticky bombs on a bar and watch people run around panicking, no idea what to do while trapped. He's a bloody psycho, but he's a psycho we act like, and he's a more serious deconstruction, reinforcing the true horror of the actions being committed in most GTA games. Of course, we know that, the average sane person would not imitate anything done in GTA, but still, it's an interesting look at the type of person who would do this in real life. One part of the writing I love is the character interactions. Like, seriously, they do small talk good, and that just adds so much more depth to the story, so much depth to the characters and characterization. When it comes to character interactions, the writing style is grand. It doesn't feel unnatural, doesn't feel forced, it just feels awesome. Okay, now let's move on to a more controversial aspect. Is GTA misogynistic? And to be perfectly honest, that's a question I don't know the answer to. I can see both sides. There's definitely misogyny present in the game, but the question is whether or not Rockstar is mocking it or reveling in it. I mean, that is a general problem with the satire of the game, but I'll get to that later. So, granted, a lot of the female characters actually do have good personalities. Not as much as the main cast, but as much as secondary characters can get. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still a couple shallow, one-dimensional characters, but, well, that's mostly in the satire department, once again later. But still, the multi-dimensional female characters definitely help to it. Although, you should never take strip club etiquette from GTA 5. Different strip clubs have different rules, and different strippers have different boundaries, but the strip club's rules and the stripper's boundaries are both very important to follow. If the establishment doesn't want you to touch the strippers, or the stripper herself does not want to be touched, don't touch the stripper, okay? If they're fine with it, go nuts, but just ask first. Anyway, I am one of those who would have loved to have had a female protagonist. I mean, you can have female heist members. Like, the female heist members actually fit in nicely with the world and this criminal culture that's present in the heists. So, really see no reason why there couldn't have been a female main character. It's not like GTA is a stranger to female criminals. I mean, hell, in GTA 3, you were shot by one. Like, it's clear that the intention with misogyny was to mock it. Like, I have no doubt of that. But intention and execution could be very different things. Like, for example, Invader Zim. Like, Johan Vasquez expressed disappointment with the fans' appreciation of Gurr. Like, he doesn't like that fans find Gurr cute. He feels that interpretation doesn't fit with the dark world he was trying to build in Invader Zim, built primarily on sarcasm. To which I respond, he's a tiny robot dressed in a tiny green dog suit. How the fuck do you expect that not to be cute? Quite simply, intention and execution are very different things. There's a whole train of thought that says that the author's interpretation is king. It's their intention, it's their work, that's what they put in there. But I don't believe that, just for the fact that intention and execution are not always the same. The creators do not always execute their intentions. They do not always get their message across. And sometimes in execution, unintentional messages may pop up. I don't believe the author should be completely irrelevant to the interpretation process, but they should not be treated as the end-all of what the work is about. And same here, while they intended, well, essentially have ironic misogyny to mock it, in some cases it feels like they're reveling in it. Although, either way, I don't know which to go on this issue. But, like, that could go on to a more broader term. Is it bigoted? Which one could say that they're mocking things like homophobia, transphobia, and any other type of bigotry out there. Some of you may rightly be wondering, why are we worrying about misogyny? Hey, blowing up people's sticky guns is fine, but being misogynistic is not? I mean, what, are we gonna worry people are gonna become misogynistic? I mean, we're so keen on saying that video games can't make you violent, so then why are we worried about a game making us misogynistic? Like, no one is gonna justify you blowing up random people with sticky bombs. We view that as morally reprehensible almost universally as a culture. We view it with disgust, and when it comes to bigotry, there will be people trying to justify it. There will be people who try to justify misogyny, like, women are such bitches, or catcalls like, hey, you should be flattered, or victim blaming, like, she shouldn't have been wearing shorts, or homophobia, it's unnatural, transphobia, hey, you're a girl, deal with it. Any other bigotry can be similarly justified. Gamers like to paint this picture that video games have only positive effects on us, and quite simply, that's false. In order to revel in the good that games can do, we must be wary of its dangers. While it can entertain, educate, bring people out of impressions. It can bring people together. Gaming can do great things, but it can also do horrible things as well. It can be used as a tool for indoctrination. It can misinform, it can mislead, it can reinforce bigotry. But the thing is, most views of the effect of media on us is too simplistic. Like, I don't believe that if you play GTA for a bit, you're gonna turn to a violent killer. The web of motivations for murderers is much more complex than that. It works with culture, it works with personal motivations, it works with nature and nurture and everything you've ever experienced, and your body itself, your chemistry, your genetics, your raising, your everything, your culture. All this coalesces into you and your motivations for your action. And yes, games can have an effect on that, and a negative one as well, but the thing is, we have to take that along with cultural views. Like, why a game like Call of Juarez the Cartel is able to increase people's fears of Mexicans is because there is already mistrust from Americans. I mean, hey, people illegally immigrate from Canada and we don't give a shit about that, we only give a shit about the Mexicans. Like, as much as the internet would like to cry for the rallying of how much good video games can do, but like any other media, it has its dangers and must be understood. And to shut down that conversation of the harms video games can do is a disservice to the medium and a disservice to the good it can do. But let's actually talk about how GTA handled, well, their controversial and potentially damaging themes. So what did I think of the satire? Honestly, well, I like the character interactions part of the story. The satire part could have been better. Quite frankly, it's about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face. Trust me, dude, subtlety is appreciated in satire. You don't just keep bludgeoning in the reason why this group sucks or the group's biggest problems and call it satire. That's just lazy. I mean, look at The Simpsons. They did well with subtlety and in my opinion, The Simpsons is one of the greatest examples of satire of all time, perhaps matched only by Moral Oral, but moving on. Like, GTA 5 attempts to take a mock everyone approach, an approach popularized by South Park, but utilized in several popular adult satires, my personal favorite being The Simpsons, and that's the one I watched. And the mock everyone approach has some dangers to it. When people try to mock everything, they tend to just go for the easy target. The ones that are easy to mock and the one where, well, you've heard it all before. Like, guys are flamboyant! It's just pathetic, perfect. And when you do that, you lose really all the benefit of the mock everyone approach. Because, well, you're not mocking everyone, you're just mocking the people other people are already mocking. So if you are going to do the mock everyone approach, legitimately mock everyone. But GTA actually does try to do that, but well, the mock everyone approach is also kind of like a roller coaster. The target of mockery gets on, goes around the roller coaster of satire, and mercilessly they get off and they get on. GTA, however, tries to get all the groups at once, and it just turns into the giant mishmash of body parts as a satire roller coaster collapses. And what you're left is just mostly confusing, and you're not sure whether or not you should be insulted. While GTA 5 tries to stay neutral, it actually just ends up taking both sides and confusing the issue it's talking about. Plus, the writing outside of cutscenes and driving actually isn't that well written, honestly. When it comes to the internet, a lot of times I just couldn't stand the writing style. Like when it comes to satire, when attempting to mock something, it's kind of, I suppose, a parallel to Poe's Law. It's often that when attempting to mock something, they can just end up accidentally emulating it, which pretty much has the person doing the thing they're mocking and then going, no, it's ironic, which GTA 5 has definitely had some problems with. One example of the difference between intention and execution. The intent was mockery, but the execution was emulation. So, as you can imagine, that can cause some confusion. Like, the writing style of a lot of the internet stuff, I just didn't like. It was unengaging, it was boring, and I didn't have any desire to stay in the internet beyond my first explorations and to randomly drop thousands of dollars into. Like, I knew it was a scam, but why the fuck not? Plus, the radio. Like, some of the writing's good, like the interaction between some of the radio hosts is nice, but it runs into some of the same problems as the rest of the satire in the game, unsubtle and confusing. Like in the talk radio, the interactions are good, but like seriously, my least favorite character in the entire thing was the liberal analog. Don't get me wrong, the criticisms they give towards liberals are valid, it's just subtlety of a sledgehammer to the face. But beyond that, I like the writing. Like, most of the story is contained within those story missions, and the characters are strong enough to get you through it. They're engaging enough to make you keep wanting to play. So, yeah, while I really didn't like the satire, the characters alone are enough to carry the story by a big margin. So, I think I blabbered on long enough. So, why does the story deserve to be on Terrific Tuesday? Some of the most engaging characters I've ever seen in a game. Like, you just want to learn their story. You just want to keep going and learn more about them. Number 2, the character interactions. This is how you do character interactions well. Like, fucking small talk, baby! All the dialogue by the characters feel natural and smart. They feel like real people. They don't feel like they're being acted. It feels like they're really going through these events. Hooray for suspension of disbelief. The story is integrated very well with the gameplay, actually using a bit of the gameplay to tell the story, especially the phone. Like, they didn't just randomly slap a bunch of cutscenes together and made the gameplay kind of match it. No, they match perfectly. They were designed to be integrated together. They weren't forced, they just fit. So anyway, I think that'll be all for today. Like, favorite, subscribe if you enjoyed. See you next time.